12 strong. Hi, welcome to the recap room. In today's video, we'll be talking about an action-packed movie based on real events after the deadly attack of 9/11, titled 12 Strong. Be warned that this video contains spoilers ahead. The movie begins with Mitch Nelson moving into his new home when he hears about the attack on the World Trade Center. Officially on a leave, Nelson goes to the field office to get updates. He meets Colonel Max Bowers there, who informs Mitch that he no longer has a team, and if he wants to help, he can start by gathering information on Afghanistan. Frustrated, Mitch goes to the cafeteria where members of his team are sitting and tells them what Bowers had told him. Sam Diller blames Mitch for them not being able to go out into the field. Mitch promises him that he will make sure that they get to go and fight. Hall Spencer, who is the chief warrant officer on Mitch's team, offers to talk to Bowers and let them go to Afghanistan. He convinces Bowers that Mitch is more than a capable team captain despite his lack of field experience, and that their team is the most experienced out of all 5 teams that Bowers was considering. Bowers goes to break the news to Mitch that he and his team have been selected to go. The team bid goodbye to their loved ones and leave for the Uzbekistan base. Colonel Mulholland briefs Mitch and Spencer and informs them that Bin Laden wants control of Mazar-e-Sharif. Whoever takes control over Mazar controls Afghanistan. He tells them that General Dostum, who is part of the Northern Alliance, is familiar with the land and that his troops will be assisting them in their mission. General Dostum does not like the Taliban, but he requires the US Army's help with their airstrikes. Once they are briefed, Mulholland tells Mitch that his team will be the first ones to fight back for the 9/11 incident. Their task force is called Dagger. Mitch goes back to camp and gives the news to his task force, who rejoice and start preparing to leave. The team writes letters for their loved ones, but Mitch refuses to write one for his wife, whom he had promised to come back alive. General Mulholland tells Mitch that the mission will take 6 weeks, but he insists that they need to get it down within 3 weeks because of the fast approaching winter, which would make it hard for him and his team to return. That night, as everyone gets in the Chinook, they are told that the ride to Darya Suf Valley is going to be brutal and that they will be flying at a very high altitude. After a few hours of flying, the team is dropped off at a random spot in the valley due to low visibility. They get in position immediately, waiting for Dostum's men to come to get them. They spot 2 men in black turbans. Assuming the worst, they attack them only to release them when the rest of the militia men come into sight along with Brian, a CIA operative. Brian briefs the task force and tells them that the Northern Alliance generals are unpredictable, including Dostum, and they need to stay vigilant as there is no guarantee that they won't be sold off to the Taliban. 2 days later, Dostum arrives at Alamo, greets Mitch, and takes the team inside for tea and food. He questions why Mitch was selected as the captain, considering he looks like he had never killed anyone. Dostum tells Mitch that the Taliban are 5 hours away from them and that he only has 6 horses for his team. Mitch decides to split the task force and takes 5 men along with him. Elsewhere, Mullah Rasan asks 3 young girls a few questions and tests them for their knowledge. Upon giving him correct answers, he shoots their teacher dead. He uses this as an example for anyone who chooses to educate any girl above the age of 8. Meanwhile, Dostum and Mitch arrive at the village of Dehi. He tells them that it has been a long hike and that they need to buy supplies. Diller claims that Dostum is only showing off that the Americans are his allies. The men then reach a cave where Dostum informs them that because Mitch's men are slow, they will be stopping there for the night and attacking the Taliban when morning comes. Dostum tells the task force to rest, but Mitch tells him that they have been ordered to stand guard along with the militiamen. Dostum is not pleased and tells him that there is only God above him, while Mitch has numerous people over him, ordering him to do things a certain way. The next day, Dostum shows Mitch the location of the Taliban, but refuses to get close. Mitch tells him that he needs to get closer to get the exact coordinates. Dostum points at the map and tells him that that is the exact location. Mitch is still cautious since he doesn't believe that the people he saw through his binoculars are Taliban. Dostum picks up the satellite phone and threatens the Taliban, confirming their identity. Dostum tells Mitch they will not let any American soldier die, because if they die, America will pull back, and that would mean that they have lost the war. Mitch gives the coordinates and bombs begin to drop, but soon he notices that the coordinates were not correct. He gets on his horse again and rushes forward to get clearer coordinates. Once again, bombs are dropped and most of the Taliban are killed, and the remaining ones start to retaliate. Dustin decides to retreat. At the same time, Mulholland sends supplies for the task force, but most of their items are stolen before they can get to it. Back at the camp, Coffers tells Mitch that it is okay to feel guilty, because that is what makes them human. Back at Alamo, Milo complains to Spencer about the child soldier, Najib, constantly following him. Spencer tells him that the children in Afghanistan are forced to become part of the army to protect them, and if an American soldier is killed, it is likely that Najib's whole family will be killed. At the Uzbekistan base, the two colonels worry that if the task force does not make it past Bezjan before the harsh weather sets in, they will be in trouble. Mitch worries that the horses might freak out if they hear bombs. Dostum assures him that the horses are trained for this, and bombs do not bother them anymore. Once again calls for bombs, and as they are dropped, he notices that the Taliban have a supply line there, and military tanks are coming out of it. He instantly becomes concerned and calls for the bombs to be dropped again, but is told that they have run out. Mitch shouts at his men and Dostum and tells them to retreat since they have lost air support. They're once again back at the camp, but this time with injured men. Mitch questions Dostum and asks him why he wasn't told about the supply chain. Dostum tells him that he needs to stop thinking that he can win this war without blood being shed. That night, Dostum wakes Mitch up and tells him that the one way to get to Mazar is through the Tianji Gap. But that is the Taliban's strong point, and because of that, they do not expect any attack from that side. The next morning, Mitch talks with Spencer and tells him to join the rest of the task force. A few hours later, they arrive, but Spencer has trouble with his back, and he volunteers to keep a lookout and orders for air support while the rest of the men fight with the Taliban. Mitch assigns Diller, Kaffer, and Bennett to go and attack the Taliban's convoys to stop them from getting any artillery. The task force proceeds to attack the Taliban and fighting ensues. Everyone moves ahead as they assume that all the Taliban are dead. Spencer spots the Taliban hiding away and warns Mitch and the team. They continue shooting until Mitch throws back a grenade, killing the remaining Taliban. Dostum tells Mitch about his family that was killed by Mullah Razan. Diller and the team inform Mitch that the Taliban's weapons cache has been destroyed. Everyone makes their way back to the camp, where they celebrate their small victory. Spencer informs Mitch that Colonel Mulholland has deployed another team to meet with Muhammad Atta's militia and make their way towards Mazar-i-Sharif. Mitch becomes frustrated, knowing that Dostum has a rivalry with Atta and will appreciate the decision. When Mitch informs Dostum about Order 555 with Atta, he gets angry and leaves. Mitch and his men divide themselves into 3 groups: Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. They go without the militia and drop bombs. They relentlessly shoot until a large number of Taliban are killed. A group of Taliban approach Spencer and his team, and white flags are drawn. As they come closer and closer, a suicide bomber sets off his bomb, injuring Spencer. The task force continues to struggle when Dostum shows up with his men to help. At that moment, Mullah Razan orders his men to launch rockets, aiming at the mountain above Dostum's men, causing a landslide and killing many. Diller asks for air support, but the pilots tell him that they are too close range for them to drop bombs. Diller asks them to do it anyway, and that they will take cover. As bombs begin to drop, everyone takes cover, but not going unscathed. Meanwhile, Mitch along with the rest of the task force and militia men charge forward to attack the Taliban. He tells his men that the Taliban will load the rocket again, and that will be their chance to attack, but gets knocked off his horse before he can give the order. He quickly gathers his bearings and gets back on his horse and starts shooting the quickly approaching Taliban. Dostum catches Mullah Razan trying to escape by driving away in a jeep. As the jeep gets stuck in a trench, Dostum gets off his horse and shoots Razan dead before he can lift his gun.
Baramazan.
Spencer is taken away by a meat evac while the rest of the task force makes their way toward Mazar-i-Sharif. Just outside the city, they meet with Muhammad Atta and his men. Dostum and Atta shake hands, choosing not to fight over the land. With the mission accomplished, everyone sits down to rest and celebrate their victory. Mitch buries the piece of the World Trade Tower that Colonel Mulholland had handed to him before the mission started to remind him what they were fighting for. The task force makes it back to their families before Christmas. And that was it for the recap, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell as well so that you don't miss any of our uploads. Thank you for watching.